But first, overseas, Ukraine's president says it won't be possible to negotiate an end to the war without meeting Vladimir Putin in person. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is entering its 27th day, with residents in the capital Kyiv on alert. A curfew has been in place and movement around the city is restricted after a strike on a shopping centre killed at least 8 people. While shelling has intensified, Russian troops have been unable to make any significant advances in key cities, and Ukrainian authorities believe local resistance is making Moscow reassess its movements. Volodymyr Zelensky is open to discussions, but says any compromises agreed on would need to go to a referendum.
I
believe that until such a time as we have a meeting with the President of the Russian Federation, in any format, and I've repeated and offered this for many years, I think that without this meeting, you cannot truly understand what they're prepared to do in order to stop the war, and what they are prepared to do if we are not ready for this or that compromise.
Now, Joe Biden's talking up the risk that Vladimir Putin could turn to chemical or biological weapons if he gets desperate enough. In considered remarks, the US president's laid out that threat, which is believed to be based on intelligence sources.
Asserting that we, America, have biological as well as chemical weapons in Europe, simply not true. I guarantee you. They're also suggesting that Ukraine has biological and chemical weapons in Ukraine. That's a clear sign he's considering using both of those. He's already used chemical weapons in the past, and we should be careful of what's about to come. He knows there'll be severe consequences because of the United NATO front, but the point is, it's real.
OK, so for an assessment of Putin's military tactics, the latest ones, including any likelihood of unleashing chemical or biological weapons, we spoke a little earlier to John Spencer, the chair of the Urban Warfare Studies Centre at the Modern War Institute. He's also a retired US Army major, and he joined us from Tucson, Arizona. John Spencer, thanks so much for joining us on Afternoon Briefing. We're hearing yet more reports of heavier artillery shelling raining down on the capital of Kiev. Do you sense that Russia is now preparing for the final offensive on that city?
I mean, I think that they know that that's the ultimate goal. So anything they can strike and make their job easier. I don't think they're in position yet to do it, but we all know that's been the goal since day one.
And what, in your analysis, will the next phase look like that is distinctly different to the encirclement phase that we've seen so far?
Yeah, so I think the bombing, unfortunately Mariupol is just a sign, not even of what the bombing will have to look like and for them to take Kyiv. Not that I think they can at this moment, but I think that bombing will increase significantly, like 10, 12, 100 times more than it is now, because it's just too dangerous for the Russians to even attempt to go inside Kyiv now. There's also some other cities that have to fall into place they need to make their job a lot easier in Kharkiv and Odessa, things that they would need to flow the forces that it would take to get inside Kyiv.
So that would actually take days, would it, before they'd even be in a position to contemplate this? Yeah, I mean, people have different expressions, but mine is this sort of final offensive on Kyiv. You're suggesting there's a lot that they would want to achieve before that.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, even the positions they have around Kyiv right now aren't stable enough for them to use. I mean, they're being counterattacked, broken apart, losing officers. Yeah, absolutely. I think any day now, this bombing will increase as a sign that they're getting closer. But I don't see them in a position to tempt the operation soon.
And so that's the military tactical phase that we're discussing here. And set against that are all these back-channel conversations about a pause, possibly even a ceasefire. How do these two come together, do you think, and how seriously do you think the pursuit of a ceasefire is being taken by Vladimir Putin?
Man, I don't think it's seriously. I mean, of course, we want a diplomatic solution, and President Zelensky has been clear he wants that as well. And unfortunately, what's making Putin pretty upset at this moment is that Ukraine is at a position of power at the political table. They're not in a place of weakness. They're actually pretty powerful in the positions they're in, especially in the defense. So that makes Putin's job a lot, or what he wants, a lot harder to kind of save face and have some terms that he can even accept.
And what do you think his minimum terms would be? Are they retention of newly won areas in the east, or might it extend as far as Kyiv?
No, I don't think they'll extend that far. I mean, like I said, very unlikely at this point he can even do that operation. I think he's just trying to get to a more favorable political ending for him, like the taking of most of the Donbass and the eastern regions. Even, I mean, he doesn't own anything yet. He doesn't even own Mariupol, even though he's committing these great war crimes and bombing innocent civilians.
Yep. Now, around Mariupol, Volodymyr Zelensky has ruled out, in fact, his administration has ruled out any request for surrender there, as elsewhere, I imagine. What does that tell you about their calculations? They actually believe that they are holding their own, despite the loss of lives and destruction?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, nobody wants to see the innocent civilians continue to die, but I think they know that they're in a position of power, even in Mariupol, that's being basically starved out, that those fighters have the will to fight to the end. And even the separatists and the Chechens and all that Russians are using in these operations, they don't have the will to go inside and face the hell on earth that is urban combat.
Right. And when the president requests extra defences, such as the Iron Dome arrangement from Israel, is that a non-starter in your view, John Spencer? It seems a little audacious because Israel closely guards that technology.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not unachievable, and every nation has to make their own decisions on the risk calculations on what they give. I mean, that's a technology that would actually support a lot in keeping Ukraine as a nation alive.
Right, but it would take some time to install. I mean, it's a bit late in the game now.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see, the S-300s are a huge help. I'd like to see some SHORAD capabilities to help with the ships that are trying to go into Odessa. I mean, anything and everything can help, and Iron Dome and those type of technologies would definitely be on my wish list as well.
Yep. What about your own president? Joe Biden, I think, is issuing a public or semi-public warning about the risk of biological weapons being unleashed in this war. Are you as alarmed as the president appears to be right now?
I think so. I mean, that's the U.S. intelligence giving that warning that at this point we're in danger of it. And I think it's because Putin's so in crisis mode that he's shown he can do it in Syria, and Ukraine is not Syria, and we're watching, and I think there's some red lines if it happens. But I think it's credible, if the U.S. intelligence apparatus is telling the president that it's a credible threat, that Putin's in such dire straits that he may use chemical biological weapons. I think it's serious, yes.
And, I mean, without sort of going into the gruesome detail, why are these, a weapon of last resort? Why are they so lethal? I mean, what would be the consequences if they were?
I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands dead civilians. I mean, these weapons don't allow you to distinguish between a military, or what we say, a combatant and a non-combatant. Plus, in the urban areas, these weapons don't dissipate, as in they don't spread and then go away quickly. If you were to fire a chemical or biological weapon in an urban area, you'd see, children and mothers and all the people that are still there trying to seek refuge in the undergrounds. I mean, it would be horrific.
Yeah, a nightmare scenario, but something to be taken seriously. John Spencer, thanks so much for joining us on Afternoon Briefing today.
Thank you.